operate in truth, right? Operate in truth. Tell the truth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Gator Truth. On this episode, we're going to take a look at the Georgia Bulldogs for 2025. And with me is my friend Trey Tucker from the Dawg House podcast. How are you doing, Trey?
Doing pretty well, Daniel. Appreciate you having me on again and talk some football. It's right around the corner. I think it's probably less than, almost 30 days, I believe, or a month. So, yeah, we're right here, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Really close to the season, which is always fun. For those that don't know, Trey is actually one of the first people I collaborated with when I started this thing. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you come up here on my Georgia Bulldog podcast to talk about the Florida-Georgia game?" And I said, "Sure, I'll do that." And every year I make it almost a planned trip to his podcast to predict the Gators will win, much to the chagrin of his listeners. But it's always a good time.
Oh, yeah, sure. Always.
So, Trey, we're here to talk about how the Bulldogs look coming into the year. I'll be honest, I haven't really looked deep into detail, so I'm very excited for this. Let's go ahead. Let's start with the offense, where I know Carson Beck is being replaced by Gunnar Stockton. What else can you tell us about this offense?
Yeah, it's definitely a revamped offense. Of course, that's the big question is, of course, Gunnar Stockton. He has sat around and waited his turn. Got a little dose of him in the SEC championship game as he led Georgia to beat Texas. And then he played against Notre Dame. Looked okay against Notre Dame. Took some sacks and believe threw a pick against Notre Dame. Only got 10 points. Was against a very tough Notre Dame defense. They ended up playing for the national title. So can't overlook that. And, I think it was hard him coming in his first start in a playoff game. But he's had the offseason to be the man, number one guy. Also, Ryan Puglisi is kind of, right behind him as a quarterback. He's got a lot of potential. I think for him, he just doesn't really know the offense quite yet. He's still kind of grasping that, so he'll be a good backup. Georgia added some pieces in the offseason, which much needed because I'm sure everybody heard and everybody knows, at least from Georgia fans, had 38 drops from the wideouts, which was historically bad. I think that was actually dead last in NCAA. I could be wrong, but yeah, very poor on that end. But added some pieces with transfer portal. We got Noah Thomas, 6'6", long-rangey guy who had a good season with Texas A&M. Also got Zachariah Branch from USC. He'll be kind of a more speed possession receiver, also used on special teams. CJ Wiley, 5-star wide receiver coming into the class. And I think Talon Taylor is another 4-high 5-star guy out of the Northeast. So got some guys. Also got Dylan Bell back. So you could tell Kirby saw we had some issues there and tried to fill some holes. Running back, Nate Frazier is going to be back. He'll be your number one guy. Another blow because he kind of flirted with us was Trevor Etienne. Said he was coming back, and I think a couple of days later, even a week later, went on to the draft. I think he ended up going in the second or third round. I believe it was with the Carolina Panthers. I'm here in Charlotte. So that was a good pickup for them. And we've had some guys banged up on the running back side, but we did pick up Illinois transfer, which I'm excited about. I didn't know where it was, what to think, but Josh McCray, who had over 600 yards for the Fighting Illini and had 10 touchdowns and looked really good in the bowl game, had over 100 yards and touchdown against South Carolina. That was definitely a respectful defense. Josh McCray, also Roderick Robinson, who was injured all last year with some toe. He had a hamstring. It'd be good to get him back. We have Cash Jones, who's a third down back. We got him back one more year with some depth. And we got some younger guys coming in. So running back should be okay. I think back during the spring I was a little nervous, but I think getting the transfer from Illinois. We're really deep at tight end. Jason Riddell is a guy I keep hearing could push some guys, but the top two guys are going to be Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky. And we have Elijah Williams, who's a 5-star coming in. He's 6'6". They're saying he kind of looks like a wingspan and can really jump up like a Gronk. I don't want to throw that name around, but just a big body guy. So very deep there. O-line's going to have a question mark. They were not good at all last year. They were north of 100 rushing the ball. So got to get that. That's a real big focus in the offseason is got to run the ball, get that going again. So that's the also offensive side of the ball. Got to get a fast start too, because there was many games where we'd only get 7 or 10 points. We were really struggling in the first half. And I know the big thing was Carson Beck transferring to Miami. He had some off-the-field problems. I will say short on that. Long story short, I'm glad he's no longer with the team. Good to part ways, and we're on to Gunner Stockton. So that's what I'm excited about for on the offensive side of the ball.
That Carson Beck comment kind of reminds me a little bit how I've heard some Tennessee people talk about Nico of
Yes.
Not going to say, but
that's right.
Yeah. So, cool. And how many starters return on that offensive line? I know you said definitely focusing on improvement. Is it some turnover transfers? I just want to go a little bit into that, I guess.
Yeah, we're getting Ernest Green, who played a pretty good bit. He was banged up with a shoulder injury, but he kind of pushed through. He struggled. We got him back. We got Monroe Freeling. He's going to be the left tackle. But we'll be replacing Drew Bobo. Played some snaps last year because of the injured other guy at center. And Michael Morris and Daniel Calhoun have been in the program. So I believe to answer your question, we're only going to have 2 returning starters coming back. But we have a lot of guys that have been within the offense, highly recruited, and have been within the system. Another one is Stacy Searles, the offensive line coach. Probably not the biggest fan of Georgia fans. He's coming back, and Mike Bobo. That's another sore subject at offensive coordinator. This is a do-or-die season. I'm sure there's some call to Jesus meetings. This is going to be their last chance. And there were really no big coaching changes with this team. So Kirby has earned that right to make coaching decisions on offensive and defensive coordinator and coordinators. So, but yeah, hey, put up or shut up this year. So
for sure, I've heard lots of put up or shut up this year from a few teams. As we go through this, I will say a little insider baseball of not all of these team previews have been recorded in order. So I can say you might hear there's a theme there, and it might even be said about my team about put up or shut up, but we'll get there. But anyways, transitioning to Kirby Smart's best side of the ball, I guess you could say, the one he's got the background in defense. What can you tell us about this Georgia defense for 2025?
Yeah, coming off last year, even though statistically, it was a good defense, but it wasn't a great or elite defense. This was probably one of the poorest defense performance back in 2024, even though they did play well in the Texas games that hung around and had Georgia in it and covered up a lot of issues on the offensive side of the ball. But they are replacing, I believe it was 3 or 4 guys that made it on the D-line, and then they were drafted. Georgia still had, even though it was for Georgia fans a step back, that's the bar that we've set. They still had 13 guys drafted, I think second to Ohio State, which is still impressive and helps on the recruiting. So I'm expecting more on defense. Christian Miller on the D-line, he's been around. He's a junior. They're expecting a lot out of him. He was banged up a little bit. He'll be returning. Jordan Baby Hall is another guy who had nose tackle that has a lot coming back. We're going to be really deep on the linebacker led by C.J. Allen. He can go side to side very quick. He's been in there, makes a lot of tackles. Raylan Wilson will be on there. KJ Bolin is going to be a stud. He was a true freshman last year, but he's as advertised as a 5-star. They're going to expect a lot from him, similar to a Malachi Starks. He should be there. Also another one, Dalen Everett, who came back. He had a really good back end of the season, had several picks. So on that side of the ball. And another big name, he's kind of waited his turn, second year in the program, is going to be 5-star Ellis Robinson, who's waited his turn, 5-star, really long. They're excited about him. Zion Branch coming over from USC with Zachariah Branch's brother. He's a 4-star at USC. He could get in the rotation. Chris Cole at Mike linebacker I've been hearing really good things. coming out of the summer on him. So defense could potentially take a step up, but I'm a little worried if I had to say about maybe D-line and just getting that like push from the D-line. And another one is Elijah Griffin. I've been hearing he's a dude as a true freshman. He was a 5-star. He might get some snaps right away, and he'll be a name at the end of the year to remember. So, it's going to be a Kirby Smart defense, so I'm still expecting good things. Maybe not elite, but still, good to great.
So, just to make sure I heard you say that if you had a concern, it would be probably that defensive line. What would you say would be the strength of the Georgia defense going into 2025 as it looks?
I'd say the linebacking core, they're pretty loaded there. A lot of experience, a lot of depth, a lot of athletic. So I would say the linebacking core. And secondary should be maybe more improved just because we lost some guys, but we also have some guys in the rotation.
Cool. Definitely seems interesting. And let's go ahead. Let's take a look forward to this Georgia schedule in 2025. You start off with Marshall and Austin P, but you do something in week 3 that is usually reserved, or at least for decades was reserved for the Florida Gators, and that was a week 3 battle against the Tennessee Volunteers. And last few years that's been mixed up, but how is it for Georgia going into Knoxville that early in the season? Since that's something that you, to my knowledge, haven't done in a long while.
Yeah, definitely a change of pace there. I'm a little nervous. This is probably one of my landmine games, as I call it, or potential trap games, just because on the road, Gunner Stockton first SEC start. It's got no Nico, and they got some issues over there. I guess the whole Boo Carter that's not showing up at practice? Not sure the whole update. I heard they got some issues, but always a tough place to play. It is 3:30, so I'm glad it's not a night game. But this should just be one of those you got to try to just get in there. It might be a struggle and just try to win by 3 to 7 points. Got to respect them. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who they have at quarterback for Tennessee. But that's definitely going to be a tough game. Always got to respect Knoxville, loud place to play, and it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. And then you have a week off, and on Saturday the 27th, you're hosting Alabama. How do you feel about that game going into the season?
Got to try to get them this year. Kalen DeBoer got Kirby last year. Everybody's going to say 1-6. This is a mental hiccup or a mental challenge. I'm not sure what it is. They've just had our number, and we can't get over it. Got to get it this year. Good thing is, first time in the Kirby Smart era, Alabama's ever played on the road in Athens. So I like that night game, 7:30 game, coming off a bye week. I'm not sure I'm sold on Ty Simpson. He maybe doesn't scare me like Jalen Milroe did. They do have Ryan Williams back. They've recruited well, but I figure you just got to try to get them this year. If not, win. But I don't know. Just mental hurdle for Kirby. But 1-6, got to get this one at home, which I feel good about.
Now, I've got to say, one of a few potential trap games that I will ask you about, and and I don't blame you if you shrug these off, but the next week, that noon kickoff against Kentucky, you've just come off a big time matchup with Alabama the week before. The next week, you've got the rivalry game going to Jordan-Hare. But you have Kentucky there at a noon kickoff sitting in the middle, and they gave you quite the scare last season. How do you feel going into that one?
I can kind of see that looking at it, from a neutral thing, but I think they're just going downhill with Bob Stoops. I'm sorry, Mark. Say his name wrong.
Happens.
Mark Stoops. So I just think they're just not a good football team, and we do get them at home because Georgia is around that 31 game. I think I could see a sluggish first half, but kind of just pull away, just got more guys, and just kind of get out of that one unscathed. 27-10. They're going to try to slow down the ball, play physical, but I just don't think they have the dudes anymore. And if this was going to Lexington, because we always play bad there recently, it's a struggle. But I like us being at home in Athens, 12 o'clock game. Be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then recently, again, as I'm talking, recording these a little bit out of order based on who had when to availability to talk to me, I spoke with our Ole Miss affiliate and I said, because he is nervous about the trip to Sanford Stadium. And I said, well, if there's anything to make you feel good, it's at the end of a 4-game streak that includes, Alabama and Kentucky, who are known as physical, a rivalry game away at Auburn. So at least you've got that going for you. But how do you feel about that matchup with the Rebels?
I think this is going to be one circled as a revenge game because Ole Miss dominated Georgia last year, defensive line. I mean, and they had some guys on the defensive line. They had the transfer portal, Lane Kiffin, transfer you. Not sure about this quarterback, Jackson Dart, first-round draft pick, was great. They had some guys. So I think that one's circled and potentially probably 3:30 or a night game. Also, they need to win this because I'm getting married on October 17th, the day before. So for a great weekend for me, for all the football gods, it'd be good to give old Lane Tram a punch in the mouth. Another one is Kirby is 1-2 against Ole Miss. So I'm sure that's something he always wonders about. So it'll be good to even up his all-time leading series head-to-head as a head coach to go for 2-2.
Yep. And then, of course, that week off, we don't need to really speak right now. I'm sure we'll talk as we get closer to the game and know more of the particulars of our team about the Florida-Georgia matchup. Trip to Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville should be interesting for the 11 a.m. local kickoff.
I know, man.
But I've got to ask that visit from the Longhorns. How do you feel about that?
I know a lot of hype. SEC Media Days, the media was all over Texas. Everybody's all over Arch Manning. Kid seems very humble or whatever, but I'm still going back to he's gonna have to prove it. And there is a reason why Quentin Ewers, who was drafted in the 7th round, was ahead of him. So verdict's still out on that, and you're gonna find out right away how good Arch Manning is when they got to go to at Ohio State. That's a banger. Week 1. Some really good games on that. I just kind of want to see how he does in these big games. So verdict's still out on that one. And, Georgia's defense gave Sarkisian issues last year. Another stat I got for you that I didn't realize till I heard recently, Georgia beat Texas twice last year and did not throw a touchdown pass. How about that? And Gunnar Stockton hopefully will be hitting his stride later in the year if Georgia can just stay healthy. But definitely going to be a big-time game, but I like it that we're at home.
Awesome. And, of course, you finish up with Charlotte and playing Georgia Tech at Mercedes-Benz rather than Bobby Dodd. So that should be interesting as well. Right. With that said, what do you picture this season being for Georgia? Like, what would be a good season for the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I'm going to go, I'm not going to be the big homer over here and go, we're going 12-0 and beating everybody. I think if we can get 10-2 and maybe split some of these big games, I do think the home streak's going to end just because these are tough games. Alabama coming to town, Texas coming to town, Ole Miss. So I'm going to go with 10-2 is a good, ceiling, 10-2, 11-1, of course. But I could see maybe like 9-3 if the bottom fell out. Maybe we had some injuries, and just because it is a tough schedule. But I like the home games. But I'm gonna go 10-2, and we just try to maybe only drop one of the home games and probably slip up and drop one of the away games. So I'm gonna go 10-2, make the playoffs, and just see what happens.
Hey, that's always a good feeling. All right, before we get out of here, go ahead, Trey, if you want to tell the listeners where they can find you and I guess check out your stuff.
Yeah, man, really appreciate that. So yeah, at Doghouse Podcast, we got around 615. It'd be great to get to that 1,000 and get monetized. Also, we're at Doghouse Talk. Got over 2,000 followers on there, and we're at Doghouse Podcast on Instagram. We do Spotify, so check out that as well. But yeah, check all those things out, and it'd be great to collaborate again with the College Huddle. It's been a great community. Got a Marshall guy coming up from when we play Marshall. I've already connected with, and I'm gonna try to hopefully hit up all the guys from the College Huddle community with preview and prediction videos each week.
Yep, and I'm sure we'll see each other down the line for those prediction preview videos for each of our for our game against each other there on November 1st.
Sure.
Again, always good talking with you, always good seeing you. And so with that said, I guess we'll get out of here. Trey, once again, thank you for coming on. And for everyone listening, thank you all for listening. And as always, go